7 electric SUVs are quietly proving something the industry did not expect. Their batteries are not dying at 100,000 miles like skeptics predicted. Some are passing 300,000 miles and barely losing power. This is not hype. This is real mileage, real warranty data, and real owners driving longer than anyone thought possible. Number 7 might already be in your driveway. Number 7 is the Kia EV6. When the EV6 first launched, plenty of buyers worried it would age like an old cell phone battery, losing power fast and dying young within a few short years. That fear turned out to be wrong. Owner data collected across thousands of EV6 miles shows something surprising. Most EV6 batteries are still holding between 95 and 98% of their original capacity in the early years of ownership. A small drop happens in year 1 as the battery settles in and the software finishes calibrating itself. Then the fade slows down and barely moves after that point. Owners with around 60,000 miles on the odometer are typically reporting only 5 to 10% total loss compared to when the car rolled off the lot brand new. Some owners tracking their EV6 closely have logged as many as 700 separate charging sessions across 58,000 miles. And even under that heavy real-world use, the pack still performs close to its original numbers, which tells a very different story than the doom predicted when the EV6 first launched. By year 8, well-cared-for EV6 batteries are still tracking toward 85 to 90% capacity, according to owner scans and independent fleet studies pulled from real cars in different climates. That is not a marketing guess sitting in a brochure somewhere. That is a pattern showing up again and again across real cars driven by real people in hot states, cold states, and everywhere in between. Kia backs this up with a 10-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty, one of the strongest protections offered anywhere in the entire electric vehicle market today. If the battery ever drops below 70% of its original capacity during that window, Kia will repair or replace it at no cost to the owner. Drivers who treat the battery gently, charging to 80 or 90% instead of always hitting 100%, and avoiding letting the pack sit empty for long stretches, are seeing even slower fade than the average owner. The newer EV6 also comes with a bigger 84 kilowatt-hour long-range battery pack, meaning it starts with more total range, so even normal aging hurts less in everyday driving compared to earlier model years. That larger buffer of extra capacity is exactly why owners are seeing such a gentle, slow curve of range loss instead of a sharp drop that would send them straight back to a dealership demanding answers. The drivetrain itself barely shows its age either. Owners consistently describe the instant torque and smooth acceleration as feeling just as strong years later, without the slow, tired feeling that an aging automatic transmission gives a gas-powered SUV after enough miles pile up. The EV6 was never expected to be the reliability champion of this list. It earned its spot the hard way, through years of boring, steady, and completely predictable performance that never made headlines because nothing ever went seriously wrong. Number 6 is the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and this one comes with a story that surprised even the engineers who originally built it. A Mach-E owner named David Blankel pushed his 2022 model past 350,000 miles of real everyday driving. That is more distance than most gas-powered trucks ever cover across an entire lifetime on the road, let alone a single electric crossover. When testers checked his battery pack after all those miles, they expected to find serious damage from years of heavy use. Instead, the pack was still working at roughly 92% of its original strength. That means only about 8% battery loss after driving farther than most people drive in 15 years of completely normal ownership. His maintenance bills over that same stretch were shockingly low too. The front brake pads and rotors were not replaced until 340,000 miles because regenerative braking does most of the stopping work instead of wearing down physical brake pads the way traditional gas cars do every single day. The rear shocks were the only other major part replaced at that same mileage mark, and Blankel reported no major mechanical breakdowns across the entire ownership period. Ford backs every Mach-E with an 8-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty, promising the pack will not fall below 70% capacity during that time. Most everyday owners driving normally are seeing just 1 to 2% battery loss per year after the first couple of years settle in and the steepest early fade levels off. This is not one lucky car with a random fluke result buried in a forum post. It stands as real, documented proof that Ford engineered something meant to survive hundreds of thousands of miles, not just a handful of years of light city driving before quietly wearing out. Ford builds the Mach-E with 2 different battery chemistries depending on trim, standard range packs and extended range packs, and both rely on the same liquid cooling system that helped Blenkel's car survive its brutal 350,000-mile test without falling apart. Ford's own guidance suggests owners who charge daily to around 70 or 80%, rather than always topping off to a full charge, can expect their pack to age even more slowly than the already impressive numbers already being reported across the wider Mach-E owner community. Number 5 is the Chevrolet Equinox EV, a newer entry using General Motors' Ultium battery platform tucked underneath a familiar, affordable SUV body that many families already recognize. Because the Equinox EV only arrived on American roads in 2024, there is no full 10-year track record to point back to just yet, but the early signs coming in are strong and remarkably consistent. Real-world owner data and GM's own Ultium platform testing point to battery loss of just 1.5 to 2.5% per year under completely normal driving conditions. That number lines up closely with what GM already saw on its earlier Chevrolet Bolt and Volt models, vehicles that had already logged years of real-world driving before the Equinox EV ever reached a dealer lot. That is a slow, steady, predictable curve, not a sudden cliff or a scary crash in range that catches owners off guard. GM backs the battery with an 8-year, 100,000-mile warranty, and if a single cell or module inside the pack ever goes bad, the Ultium design allows technicians to replace just that one small piece instead of tearing out and replacing the entire multi-thousand-dollar battery. That kind of modular repair keeps costs from spiraling into the tens of thousands of dollars that many EV shoppers still fear when something eventually breaks down the road. Early Equinox EV owners with 10 to 20,000 miles already on the odometer are reporting almost no noticeable range loss at all so far into ownership. This SUV is proving that even a newcomer to the electric SUV space can be engineered with the same long-term thinking that took Tesla and Hyundai several years, and hundreds of thousands of real-world miles to prove out on their own vehicles first. The Equinox EV's pack holds slightly more than 85 kilowatt-hours of raw capacity, but GM deliberately holds some of that capacity in reserve as a buffer, a trick that slows down visible degradation, and is one major reason these newer battery packs are already lasting longer than early skeptics ever expected them to. Number 4 is the Rivian R1S, an electric SUV built for off-road adventure, but backed by one of the longest battery warranties found anywhere on this entire list. Rivian promises its battery will hold at least 70% of its original capacity for 8 years or 175,000 miles, whichever limit comes first. That mileage number matters a great deal because it sits far higher than most competitors are willing to offer their own customers. Early R1S owners are reporting only a few percent of capacity loss during the very first year of ownership, followed by a slow and steady decline afterward that closely mirrors what other liquid-cooled battery packs have already shown across the wider industry. Owners who have already pushed their R1S past 150,000 miles are still reporting battery health above 85% in many separately documented cases online, even with the heavy weight of the truck-sized SUV and the higher power draw that comes with quick, adventure-ready acceleration. Rivian uses a large, liquid-cooled battery pack, the same core cooling technology that has already proven itself reliable and durable in both Tesla and Hyundai vehicles across years of real-world use and testing. The R1S is still a fairly young model out on American roads, so there is no 15-year ownership history to point back to just yet the way older brands can offer. But the early numbers coming in, combined with Rivian's genuinely aggressive mileage-based warranty promise, put this heavy adventure SUV firmly among the vehicles built to outlast their very first owners entirely. Rivian offers the R1S with standard, large, and max battery pack options, and because the packs start out so large to begin with, even a driver who eventually sees 20 to 25% degradation many years down the road would still be left with a very usable amount of everyday range. On a well-equipped large pack R1S, that means starting from around 300 miles of real-world highway range, so losing a chunk of that over a decade still leaves plenty of range for daily commuting and weekend trips without constant range anxiety creeping into everyday life. Number 3 is the Kia EV9, Kia's largest electric SUV, built specifically for families who need 3 full rows of seating and long-term dependability they can count on for many years ahead. The EV9 shares its core battery platform with other Hyundai and Kia electric vehicles that already have years of strong, proven data collected behind them out on real roads. Kia backs the EV9 with an 8 to 10-year battery warranty, covering 100,000 to 150,000 miles depending on the specific region where the vehicle happens to be sold, guaranteeing at least 70% capacity throughout that entire coverage window. Early EV9 owners are reporting no major pattern of fast battery decline so far into ownership, and most describe stable, predictable range even after tens of thousands of miles of mixed city and highway driving in varied weather. Broader industry data collected on similar large battery packs suggests these particular cells are capable of 20 or more years of usable life when they are charged and maintained normally, without constant fast charging abuse day after day. Kia also backs the EV9 with strong bumper-to-bumper coverage on top of the battery warranty, meaning early owners are protected on far more than just the pack itself, while the platform continues proving its long-term durability out on real American roads and in real winters. The EV9 simply has not existed out on the road long enough yet to prove every single claim with a full decade of driving behind it the way older nameplates can. But it inherited proven battery technology that already survived that exact endurance test on other Hyundai and Kia vehicles first, giving families real, evidence-based reason to trust it for the long haul ahead of them. The EV9 uses a large battery pack near 76 to 100 kilowatt hours depending on trim, built on the same eGMP platform underneath the Ioniq 5 and EV6, which means Kia is not experimenting blindly, it is scaling up a design that has already logged real years of testing in smaller vehicles first. Number 2 is the Hyundai Ioniq 5, and this is exactly where the data stops sounding like marketing copy and starts sounding almost unbelievable to skeptics. The Hyundai ran a brutal endurance test on an Ioniq 5 over in Korea, pushing the SUV through 580,000 kilometers, which works out to about 360,000 miles in under 3 years of continuous, punishing testing. That kind of relentless mileage would completely destroy most gas-powered engines long before ever reaching that kind of distance. When Hyundai's engineers finally pulled the battery pack out for detailed laboratory testing afterward, it was still sitting at 87 to 88% of its original health. Everyday owners driving their own Ioniq 5 normally are seeing even better results in many documented cases, often retaining over 90% of original capacity past 100,000 miles of completely regular use. Hyundai backs the Ioniq 5 with a 10-year, 100,000-mile battery warranty here in the United States, guaranteeing the pack will not fall below 70% capacity at any single point during that entire period of ownership. The Ioniq 5 uses an 800-volt electrical system paired with strong liquid cooling, which keeps the battery from overheating during fast charging sessions, one of the single biggest causes of early battery wear found in any electric vehicle on the market today. Everyday owners who charge mostly at home using slower level 2 chargers overnight are reporting only 1 to 3% battery loss per year, a number so slow that most drivers will trade in the entire car long before the battery itself ever becomes a real practical problem for daily use. Hyundai's Korean test car did not stop at 360,000 miles either. Some reports place similar Hyundai test vehicles well past 400,000 miles, with battery health still holding in a range most engineers considered impossible for a mass-produced electric SUV just a few years ago. The Ioniq 5's coverage also transfers fully to the next owner, so a used Ioniq 5 buyer inherits whatever years and mileage remain on that original 10-year warranty instead of starting from zero, which makes the used market for this SUV especially strong. Number 1 is the Tesla Model Y, and it holds this top spot because Tesla has collected more real-world miles and published more transparent data than almost any other automaker anywhere on Earth. Tesla's own 2023 Impact Report tracked Model Y and Model 3 long-range batteries all the way out to 200,000 miles of combined fleet driving across hundreds of thousands of vehicles. The average capacity loss recorded at that distance was just 15%. These battery packs, were still holding 85% of their original strength after covering the distance of roughly 8 full trips around planet Earth. Some individual Model Y owners have already pushed their personal cars past 210,000 miles and are still reporting battery health that matches or even beats Tesla's own published fleet average from that report. Tesla backs the Model Y with an 8-year battery warranty covering 100,000 to 120,000 miles depending on the specific trim level chosen at purchase, guaranteeing at least 70% capacity throughout that entire coverage period. Independent studies have also uncovered something many owners were genuinely not expecting to hear about their own driving habits. Charging regularly at fast supercharger stations does not appear to wear down the battery meaningfully faster than slower charging at home overnight, according to data comparing owners who fast charge constantly against owners who rarely use fast chargers at all throughout ownership. Tesla has been building and selling the Model Y since 2020, giving this particular SUV more years on the road and far more real-world data points collected than almost any other electric SUV competitor found anywhere on this entire list. That mountain of real-world evidence, collected from hundreds of thousands of actual everyday drivers,